All right. So let's go ahead and let's spawn some of our items here. So first things first is we need to add in, for example, our labels and our players and our falling blocks. So let's add in the labels first. We'll add in a function. We'll call this spawn label. And we should call it LBL main. So we need to spawn the main label first. So we're going to go to LBL main is equal to SK label node. And we'll add in our font name, and future is my favorite. You can go and add in your own if you wish, and I highly recommend that you do. But we'll go to LBL main dot font size is equal to, we could probably make that 100. We're going to go to LBL main dot font color is equal to off white color. I'll just say LBL main dot font or dot position is equal to CG point. This is going to be a position in here, and we'll say this is CG rect get mid x self dot frame, so that puts it in the middle, and then CG rect get mid y self dot frame, and we'll add in 250 to that, so it'll be a little bit more from the top. So let's go to LBL main. LBL main dot text is equal to, we'll just say start. And then we need to go to self dot add child, and we'll say this is LBL main. Okay, and there we go. We're also going to add in a function here. We'll call the spawn LBL score, and we'll say that this is going to be LBL score, and within here we'll say that E is equal to SK label node, and we'll make it Futura here. You don't have to make the fonts the same, but I like to. We'll say score dot font size is equal to 50. LBL score dot font color is equal to off white color. And then we're going to go to LBL score dot position is equal to CG point. And we'll say that this is CG rect get mid x self dot frame, and it's going to be CG rect get mid y self dot frame, and we can subtract like 350 from this if we want to. All right, let's go to LBL score dot text is equal to score. So add in the backslash and brackets will print the variable. Lastly, we're going to go to self.addChild, and we're going to add in the LBL score. Okay. All right. So we now have the two labels spawned. Let's add in the spawn player. Okay. And within the spawn player, we're going to say to player is equal to sk sprite node. And in here, we're going to say that this is a UI color, and we'll make it off-white color for now. And then we'll add in player size, because remember we set up the size here. Now I always like to go to player.size is equal to player size here. Now this is important because if you want to add in your own art, you have to set the size manually. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do that here. And let's say this is player.physicsBody is equal to sk physicsBody, and we're going to go to rectangle of size, player exclamation point dot size. Then we're going to go to player dot physicsBody dot affected by gravity is equal to false. Player dot physicsBody dot allows rotation is equal to false. All right, and so we need to set up all of our items here. So player dot physicsBody dot category bitmask is equal to physics category dot player. Now remember, we did set this up earlier. Now we're going to go to player dot physics body dot contact test bitmask is equal to physics category dot falling block. Player dot physics body dot dynamic is equal to true. And then we're going to go to player. We're going to say player dot name is equal to player name. Okay. And then we're going to go to self dot add child, and then we're going to say we're going to add in the player. All right. So you need to add in all those physics bodies if you want to have any kind of contact. Okay. Now let's add in the falling block logic here. Okay, so let's add in a function, and we're gonna add in part of the functionality in this tutorial, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more about the color scheme, etc., in a different tutorial. All right, so let's say spawn falling block. Okay, and in here we're gonna say, we'll add in some space because we're gonna need to add some variables here, but we'll say falling block is equal to sk sprite node, and we'll say that this is for the moment off-white color, and it's going to be falling block size. Okay, and then we'll go to falling block dot position, and this is where things get pretty cool. In fact, before we move on here, let's go to player dot position is equal to cg point. We didn't add in the position here. And we'll just put it cg rect get mid x self dot frame, and the y will be, let's say 50. All right. So falling block dot position is equal to cg point, and we need an x and a y. So we're going to set up a random x variable. So we're going to say let random x is equal to int. We need to convert this to an int. So it's going to be arc for random underscore uniform. And we'll say that this is somewhere between 500 and 300. All right, and what that's going to do is that's going to pick a number between 300 and 500. So the bottom answer is the second number. We need to convert it to an integer because arc4 random uniform is a uint32. So it's not the same as an int. All right. So the x will be random x. So every time the block is spawned, we'll set up a random x. And the y here, we can say something like 1,000. And that's somewhere off the screen to the top. All right. Let's add in the physics bodies here. So we'll say falling block dot physics body is equal to sk physics body rectangle size falling block exclamation point dot size. We'll go to falling block and falling block dot physics body dot affected by gravity is equal to false. Falling block dot physics body dot allows rotation is equal to false. Falling block dot physics body dot category bitmask is equal to physics category dot falling block. Falling block dot physics body dot contact test bitmask is equal to physics category dot player. Falling block dot physics body dot dynamic is equal to true. Falling block dot name is equal to falling block name. Self dot add child falling block. Okay, so you need all these to make sure that it works here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we spawn all these. Okay, so let's go to spawn LBL main. We're going to go to spawn LBL score and then spawn player. But we're not going to spawn the following block. We're going to set that up in its own title. Let's do self.background color is equal to off black color. All right, let's take a look at this. So again, the override function will get called when the app's loaded. It's a very important concept here, and that looks pretty good, except for the player should probably be more like at 120. So we need the player to kind of move up to the top here. Now, of course, the player doesn't do anything yet, but there you go. So we will be able to move around here, and that actually looks pretty good. This concludes the tutorial.